take a look at ESC4. So a certificate template is basically just another object in Active Directory. It has permissions as well. And ESC4 is about who is allowed to modify this template, read it as before, but mostly modify. That's ESC4. So in Bloodhound, we can see what are the inbound control rights. For instance, oh, that looked weird. Okay. Okay, I don't know why it went like that. But in any case, this is for, maybe I can change the graph. Okay. This is for the empty template. We can see administrator owns the template. It has the permission right owner, right tackle, and right property. And while Bloodhound shows them as three different ones, for the system administrator's perspective, it's just a single checkbox called right. But underneath it is indeed three different permissions. And with all three of them, you can still compromise it. So this is for the empty template, but of course, I also made a vulnerable one. So let's show the shortest path to vulnerable certificate template access control, long name, from own principals. So if we click that one, we can see that we are a member of domain users, who is a member of authenticated users, and authenticated users has the right permissions over a template called old server. So old server is not a vulnerable certificate template for any of the other ones we have seen. It's just a basic template. I just duplicated the web server one and gave our user permission to write to it, sorry. But since we can now modify it the way we want, why don't we make it a vulnerable template that we can then abuse? And Certify has a command for that one. It's a very basic command. If you want, you can modify it a bit more delicate if you want to do that. But Certify has a command just called template, which will just override the template with a vulnerable ESC1 configuration. So as we saw before, we can use ESC1 to basically request it as anyone. So just before we override it, let's take a look at certified text. And then we'll just see it inside here. I just want to show, this is what it looks like inside the text before. We see certified will also show in the text if it can find it. But most of the time, Bloodhound can create a nice graph. Certify is a bit stupid in this regard because it cannot do the same graphs that a Bloodhound can do. So we just say authenticated users has dangerous permissions, ESC4, and we can see the same permissions here that authenticated users can write the different principles. The different properties. So that is just before. It was only shown as ESC4. So if we now try to override the template, there are some different options. We have to specify the template, so the name of it. Configuration we will use later, but we want to save the old configuration since it's probably a production environment. We don't want to just make it vulnerable for everyone forever. So we want to save the old configuration, which we will restore afterwards. So we specify our user first, which is again, and then the template, which is called old server. And we want to, what is it, save old. Let's see if it works. Okay, now it says updating certificate template, old server, updated. So let's just for fun, try to run certify find again. In this case, we only want the text. We don't need the Bloodhound output. So we just queried everything like before, just to get an updated to see how it changed. So here, let's find the old. We have the old server again. But now you see it has enroll supply subject, client authentication. It's a really nice certificate. And Certify will now show that it's vulnerable to ESC1, ESC2, ESC3. So whatever you want, you can do it. So it also updates the permissions. So if maybe only administrators could enroll in it, it also makes sure that now everyone can enroll in it. So it's pretty nice. and generic override.
Yeah, it sounds
So we
very,
will
very,
request it.
very stealth.
Yeah. I don't know about, I don't think it's that stealth. But if it's the path to main admin, you can do it.
Yeah.
And also perhaps if it's in if you're doing a red team where you want to hide, maybe you can go in and modify some different things. Do it a bit more manual. Certify, we just want it quick and dirty. That's what we do. So now we are requesting the old server template. And again, we can now, since it's vulnerable to ESC1, we can enroll in that one and specify the username. And just like that, we get it. So Certify did write the old configuration. If you go into things, see what it looks like. It's just a JSON array with all the different attributes. So we can actually restore it just like this. We say configuration is old server. So in this way, you could also modify this JSON, tailor it a bit more if you want maybe some other attributes and so on. But now we just updated it, restored it, and it's back to normal again, still vulnerable to ESC4. So these 1 to 4 vulnerabilities are based on the templates. Now we will move on to the certificate authority itself, how it can be vulnerable as well.